Hey everybody, NagroVMX here, and welcome back to another 10 matches of Pokemon Showdown. And this first match is against 360 BRB. Be right back. Let's see how they do. So they get a Cloyster lead. Cloyster is, of course, always kind of a scary Pokemon, especially if it's holding the White Orb. You know it's going to do Shell Smash. I actually started with Porygon 2, which is also a really great Pokemon. It's almost as good as Pokemon Porygon Z, and you can have Eviolite. So this guy goes for Shell Smash. He didn't know I had Thunderbolt, so, bop boop beep, he's done immediately. Out comes Emolga, and they immediately hide behind the substitute just to, I guess, see what I'm going to do. I go for Tri Attack. It's, my best chance for breaking the sub. Wasn't sure if, Thunderbolt would do enough damage. They decide to swap over to Guzzlord. So I guess the whole point of the Emolga was just to scout me out. Tri Attack is still my best option there. But I decided to throw a Toxic on it because Guzzlord can be kind of bulky. They get off the Hammer Arm, which does less than half my health, so I know I can take another one. And so I go for the Recover. Just figure I could just spam him out with that, because he can't really hurt me with Hammer Arm. He can't do more than what I can do with Recover, and I can just continually use Recover, and he can't do anything to me, so he's going to have to just either die to Toxic eventually or swap out. So, there's really nothing he can do. He decided to try out a Crunch. That didn't do it for him. And I finished him off with a Tri Attack there. So that's 2 down. So in comes Vivillon. The Vivillon goes for Hurricane. It doesn't do a whole lot of damage, although I do get confused. I'm not super worried about that. I go for Thunderbolt. Vivillon is down. At this point, I'm thinking, holy crap, is this a epic Porygon 2 sweep? So Emolga comes back in. They go for Encore. So I snap out of confusion. I'm now locked into Thunderbolt. Unfortunately, they have Motor Drive, so all I'm doing is raising their speed, so I absolutely have to swap at this point. So I bring in Leavanny, because I figure at least it won't be able to use any stab moves really super effectively on me. Super effective, see what I did there? So they go behind the sub, and they're going to baton pass the sub and the speed boost to Maul, who's going to intimidate me down, so that was actually a really good play. I went for Leaf Blade, but due to my low attack and the fact that Maul just, it resists that, it's not even going to break the sub. So I bring Porygon 2 back in. They go ahead and Mega Evolve into Mega Maul. They go for Knockoff. It's going to get rid of my Eviolite, but I'm such low health now that it's not going to make that much of a difference. They went for Play Rough. Thankfully, it missed, and I'm able to get off a Recover. But I'm kind of wondering if I'm going to be able to take a hit now without the Eviolite. I am able to take the Play Rough. So I go for Tri Attack. That at least is going to fade the sub, which is good because, Mega Maul resists normal type moves, of course. So I bring in Diancie. Unfortunately, they had gone for Iron Head there. I guess that was a really good read on their part. Diancie is double weak to Steel. He just gets bodied. I bring in Kabutops, and I get up a Liquidation. I really just wanted something to outspeed Maul, and the Liquidation does really great there. And I get a Defense drop. The Play Rough, it does okay. I'm surprised they didn't go for Iron Head there. The second Liquidation is going to take them down. I'm about to sneeze here, you guys. Okay, alright, so the Emolga comes back in, and I decide to swap over to Tapu Koko because I figured, well, let's see how this does. So they go for Thunderbolt. Obviously, it's not going to do really anything to Tapu Koko. I don't have a hard counter this. I decide to just go for Dazzling Gleam for the stab damage. It does not too bad. They hide behind the sub. I'm thinking, well, what are they going to do? Are they going to baton pass the sub over to their last Pokemon? But I fade out the Dazzling Gleam. They went for Encore, but all that's doing is locking me into my best attacking move. So they swap over to Clefable, so I get it, okay, I'm locked into a Fairy-type move, and you bring up the Fairy-type. The damage is not that bad, so, why would I swap out? It's doing, it's going to be a 4-hit KO. So they go for the Stealth Rocks. That's whatever. I go for Dazzling Gleam again. Obviously, Clefable isn't going to last much longer. They try the Fire Blast, obviously hoping to burn me. Doesn't work. My Encore ends. And why not go for Dazzling Gleam one more time? I didn't really want to do anything else. So, he goes down. The last Pokemon is the Emolga. I went for Dazzling Gleam one more time, and that's game. Okay, so this next battle is versus Pyoxid? I don't know how to say that. So I start off with Deoxys in his speed form, and they have a Dual Blade, which obviously is going to have some sort of Eviolite, so obviously I'm going to knock that off right away. So really good that I got rid of that Eviolite, because Dual Blade already has a lot of defense, and then with that Eviolite, it's just crazy. So I bring in Talonflame. He takes the Shadow Sneak, not that badly. They go for it again. Obviously, I can't survive another one, but I get off the Flare Blitz. I was really hoping to take him out there. I do get a burn, which is helpful. I'm going to go down to the recoil damage, and, they're barely living that burn, so they're at 1%. So I bring in Knocked Owl because I figure they're going to go for Shadow Sneak again. Obviously, it's not going to affect Knocked Owl, and then I can just use whatever move. I decided to go for Hurricane, and that's going to take down the Dual Blade finally. So Crustle comes in, Lasagna's here, and I swapped over to Basculin. They're deciding to set up spikes, which is okay. They swap over to Kingdra, obviously thinking I'm going to do Liquidation or something. Obviously, I did go for Liquidation. So Kingdra's obviously going to take that like a champ. I swap back to the Knocked Owl. They went for Outrage, so I'm like, okay, well, we know they're locked into Outrage, so at least, that's a little bit of knowledge here. Unfortunately, I don't have, like, a Fairy type or anything to swap in, so I just let the Knocked Owl go down there so I can get a clean swap. So I bring in Tangrowth. Grass type is at least neutral damage against Kingdra. It is my best bet. Kingdra's, like I said, without a Fairy type move, Kingdra pretty much walls me out. So I'm figuring Giga Drain is my best bet here. So Giga Drain does pretty great damage, and I'm able to take him out with just 2. And Tangrowth, of course, is super bulky in physical defense and is able to tank the Outrage. So Articuno comes in. I know they're going to do an Ice move, but then they go behind a Substitute. I'm like, okay, I decided to stay in and try to get a Rock Slide anyway, because Rock Slide will absolutely body Articuno. I figured I could leave an Ice Beam, or maybe they would go for Blizzard and miss or something. They do go for the Ice Beam next, but unfortunately this must be a pretty specially offensive Articuno, and that takes down my Tangrowth. So I bring Deoxys back in. I'm not really worried about the spikes. It's very little damage there, and I know I'm going to outspeed it. I go for Knockoff just to get rid of whatever it was holding. It was the leftovers. So that's okay. They went for Ice Beam again, and oh man, it's doing so much damage, so the special defense on this Articuno is crazy. I went for Psycho Boost to try to take it out. Unfortunately, it just lives on 6% health and takes me down with the Ice Beam. So this Articuno is actually a bit of a problem. My only Rock-type user went down. I bring in Basculin because at least he resists Ice, and he outspeeds. I went for Crunch. That's going to take Articuno down, but, what a what a journey there. So they bring in Furret, that has Frisk, so they know I have the Choice Band. They hit me really hard with Double Edge. They know I'm going to do Crunch. I don't really have a choice, so I decided to swap over to Chestnut because I figured at least then they won't know what I'm going to do. They go for another Double Edge, and it does okay damage. Furret can be surprisingly annoying. They seem to be doing Double Edge an awful lot here. I finally get up a Drain Punch. Unfortunately, I couldn't get it off earlier. I really wish I could have outsped this thing and gotten more health back, before it hit me. So anyway, that's down. So Rock Lasagna comes back out, and I went for another Drain Punch. Unfortunately, because it's part Bug type, it's not really super effective. They went for Earthquake. That does, like a dick amount of damage, really, to be honest. So I'm not really concerned with that. I decided to try out Wood Hammer. Once again, being part Bug type, I really don't have anything that could really hurt a Rock and Bug type. I would basically, need to just, I don't know, like Rock and Bug type, they cover each other's weaknesses really well, and I'm actually trying to think off the top. I guess Water would be the best shot, which would be Basculin, but every time I bring in Basculin, they swap. But Basculin's actually my last Pokemon, and he's really on his last legs. He's got 24%, but I figured they would swap, but I was like, all right, lock myself into Liquidation anyway. It takes them out, and their last Pokemon is Swampert. I'm like, well, that's GG. There's no way. And of course, it's a Mega. So I hit Liquidation anyway. It does a surprising amount of damage. I'm thinking maybe he'll miss, but he went for Waterfall. Waterfall pretty much never misses, and Basculin goes down. So that was a pretty close game there, but that Mega Swampert, I'm actually shocked I did that much damage. I know that it's obviously neutral damage. It's not fully resisted, but still that was really impressive from Basculin. So this next battle is versus ZFace777. I have a Rotom Heat here, and they start out with Gyarados, so I kind of figure, well, it's probably a Mega. Let's Volt Switch before it can do anything. Actually, I thought even if it Mega Evolves, it's still, Volt Switch is still going to do a lot of damage. They didn't Mega Evolve. I don't know if they were saving it or whatever. So, Gyarados goes down like a sack of bricks. So Avalugg comes in. I decided to go for the Destiny Bond because I figure he's going to go for Avalanche. I actually lived it, so I'm like, let's just try it again because it did do more than half my damage. Unfortunately, Destiny Bond fails the second time around, and they're able to get the Avalanche off and kill Delibird, So he really couldn't do anything. He really was just there to do Destiny Bond. So I bring Rotom Heat back in. They swap over to Incineroar. They intimidate me. Of course, I gun for Overheat, and I was just like, please don't be Flash Fire, but it's not. But unfortunately, I do have to swap here. So I bring in Altaria, because I figure it has the best chance of taking whatever they're going to do. They went for Knockoff, and that gets rid of nothing because it's a Mega. So I Mega Evolve into Mega Altaria, and I went for Earthquake. It doesn't do anything to Avalugg. So I'm like, all right, I really got to figure out how to kill this thing. So I bring in Crawdaunt, because I figured he'd go for Avalanche again, and I can at least resist that. And then maybe I can figure out a way to chip away at this thing. So then they swap over to Roserade. I'm like, oh, crap. So I had gone for Superpower. That probably would have killed Avalugg, but Roserade, of course, takes it like a champ, and, now my attack and defense drop, and I didn't really get much damage there, so that kind of sucks. So I decide to swap again to Weezing. So I've revealed almost my entire team. They're throwing out Toxic Spikes. Weezing can't even pick it up because he's not grounded, so I can't even swap him, back in to pick up the spikes. I went for Fire Blast. Of course it misses. Of course it does. So I'm like, ah, crap, here we go. So they're setting up regular spikes now, and I'm thinking, well, if they, I went for Sludge Bomb actually because I thought that they would swap out there. It doesn't do a lot of damage though, so I'm like, okay, they're obviously staying in. They want to set up all the spikes. So I went for Fire Blast again. And they lived it. I'm like, oh my god, what does this thing have? Assault Vest? Like, what is going on? But obviously it has Black Sludge, so this is obviously a very bulky Roserade. I went for Sludge Bomb there just for pretty much like the guaranteed hit to take it out. So Pyukumuku comes in, and I decide to start setting up Toxic Spikes because attacking Pyukumuku, obviously it has counter, but here's the thing. They swap over to Swoobat, so I'm like, okay, this is interesting. Now, the Pyukumuku is really cool because it can use, moves like Counter and Light Screen. Not Light, a Mirror Coat. But I'm like, it's interesting. It doesn't, I wonder if it just has Counter, because sometimes you get one that just has Counter. So I swapped over to Crawdaunt here just to see what I can do with the Swoobat. Swoobat is really fast. I went for Crab Hammer to hopefully take him out in one shot. Unfortunately, he lives, so that kind of sucks. But then I went for Aqua Jet to outspeed him because that's a priority move. Swoobat can be really difficult to get around just because it's so fast. Crawdaunt's going to go down to the Toxic there, but he really did his job in taking down that Swoobat. So Pyukumuku comes back in, and I'm like, okay, so let's bring Weezing back in. They get badly poisoned. Of course, Weezing doesn't. So I decided to try Sludge Bomb just to see if they, don't have Mirror Coat, but they're going for Reflect. So I'm like, okay, that's really interesting. So I'm just going to continually go for Sludge Bomb, let the Toxic rack up. They go for Light Screen. So I'm like, okay, this is kind of annoying because they still have Avalugg and it's very, bulky. So I went for Protect here because I basically want this thing to die to Toxic so that I don't get hurt by Innards Out. Unfortunately, they live that, so I went for Sludge Bomb, and the Innards Out actually really does almost no damage at all, so that was pretty cool. So that worked out well for me. So Avalugg comes back in, gets Toxic Poisoned. Another reason that I'm using Protect is to try to get rid of the Reflect and Light Screen. So he went for Avalanche, and, that's just going to get rid of another turn, basically. I went for Fire Blast. I knew he was going to live it, but it's damaged. So I'm like, Avalanche, I take that pretty well. So I'm like, if I can alternate between attacking and using Protect, I can, just wait out the Reflect and the Light Screen. So I go for Protect again. They're obviously going to go for Avalanche. And I'm also going to get a little bit back for my Black Sludge, so that helps a little bit. But really the main thing is to let the Toxic rack up and to get rid of these Reflects and Light Screens. So Fire Blast takes him out. The last Pokemon I have to worry about is Incineroar, but I'm not super worried about it because I have 4 Pokemon. And then they Rage Quit anyway, so I guess they knew that was pretty much a lost cause. This next battle is versus Naxo 2. Let's see how this one goes. So I have a Golurk lead. This is a really good Golurk with no guard and Dynamic Punch. And out comes Snorlax. I'm like, oh crap, let's do it. So Dynamic Punch does a lot of damage and confuses the Snorlax, so that's just great. And then, of course, he hits himself, so that's pretty great. He gets a little back from leftovers. I'm not super worried about this. So they swap out to Pelipper. Pelipper can be a real problem. But I had already gone for Dynamic Punch. I'm like, well, it won't do any damage, but it's, the thing about Dynamic Punch is if it hits, it's a 50% chance of hitting. But if it hits, it always confuses. And the great thing about it is if you have no guard, you never have to worry about it missing. So I decided to go for Shadow Punch just to get a little extra damage. I figure Pelipper's probably going to take me down. But then it has Roost, and I'm like, oh, crap. So I go for Shadow Punch again. And I'm like, it's just going to keep roosting, isn't it? And they go for roost again. Pelipper is just a really great Pokemon. So I'm kind of like waiting for it to hit itself in confusion. It never does. It breaks out of confusion and gets me with the Scald. So unfortunately, that's my Golurk down. But he got rid of about half of the Pelipper's life and really hurt that Snorlax. So I bring in Manaphy and go for Ice Beam. It is neutral damage. It does really good. They go for Hurricane. That doesn't do quite what they're looking for, and they go. Wow, I'm confused. They go down to their Life Orb. So Tangrowth comes out. I'm thinking, I just use Ice Beam. Why would you bring Tangrowth in? Bop Boop Beepy's done. I'm wondering what this person's thinking. Like, you seriously, what? So then Hariyama comes in. I'm like, okay, well, let's just see if I could freeze it. I actually freeze it on the first shot. I'm like, no way. That is so cool. I mean, it didn't really do damage. It did like 14% damage. So I bring in Shaman in his Sky form. They can't do anything. They're still frozen. I decide to start going for Air Slash. It's only going to take 2 Air Slashes, and they're obviously frozen. They decide to swap to Escavalier, and I'm like, okay. Escavalier takes the Air Slash a lot worse than I thought it would. It is part Bug type. I have Hidden Power Fire, you guys, so that hits pretty hard. They get me with Iron Head, but I'm outspeeding them, and there's no way they can take another Hidden Power Fire. Then they swap back to Hariyama, so I'm like, oh, okay. So Hariyama's going to get hit by that. Obviously, it's going to thaw them out. They probably figured, oh, that's Hidden Power Fire. I can get my Hariyama thawed out. So then they swap back into Snorlax, and I'm thinking, why are they swapping so often? Obviously, I was going to use Air Slash. Maybe they want to save the Hariyama for later, so Snorlax goes down. That's no problem there. So they have Lycanroc Midnight form. So at this point, I know I can't really do anything to this thing with that Pokemon. I decided to swap over to Manaphy. They had gone for Sucker Punch, so it's a good thing that I swapped there. It's pretty much a safe swap. And then they go back into Hariyama. I had gone for Energy Ball. That obviously would have bodied the Lycanroc, and it's just going to take out the Hariyama easily. Escavalier comes in. I'm like, okay, let's see what Energy Ball can do. Nothing really much. It resists it. They go for Mega Horn. That's going to take Manaphy down. So, hey, Escavalier did something, but I'm not super worried about it. So I bring Shaman back in. I decide to go for Hidden Power Fire because obviously that's going to take down Escavalier. They didn't decide to try to swap that time. So the last Pokemon I have to worry about is the Midnight form Lycanroc. I have 4 Pokemon. I decide to Leech Seed him because I just want to get a little health back. I want to see how this is going to go, So they're going for Swords Dance. I'm like, okay, that's fine. Air Slash isn't going to do much against him, but I figure maybe I can get a little Flinch Hacks. I don't. And they Fire Punch Shaman. I was going to just let him do whatever he could. If he could take this thing down, great. Otherwise, I have 3 more Pokemon. So I bring in Darkrai. I go for the Focus Miss. It doesn't miss, and that's game. The Lycanroc goes down. So this next one's versus Stevena 12, or maybe it's Stevana 12. They have a Lantern lead. Lantern's really cool. I have Aerodactyl lead. So I'm like, okay, let's Mega Evolve. That's an obvious choice there. So we Mega Evolve into the Mega Aerodactyl, and I went for Hone Claws, which of course boosts accuracy and attack. They went for Thunderbolt. I'm like, shit, that did a lot of damage, and but now I'm faster. I go for Stone Edge. It doesn't quite take them out. I know I'm going to go down to a Thunderbolt, so that was pretty much a loss right there. Lantern is something you can never underestimate. They are dangerous. So I bring in Comfy just to get off the U-turn and get rid of this Lantern. I just wanted something faster that could take it out quickly, and then I swap into Beware. So they bring their own Comfy in. So I'm like, oh, we both have Comfy. They went for Toxic, and they missed. So I'm like, oh, good, that's a good choice, because I had gone for Swords Dance. So I know they're going to... I thought they were going to use Toxic, but they actually went for Draining Kiss. I go for Return. There's no way... Beware has amazing attack, and with a Swords Dance up, and Return, that's just crazy. So Empoleon comes in. I'm thinking, okay, interesting. I have Hammer Arm. Bop Boop Beepy's done. That's just really easy, taking advantage of Empoleon's Steel type. I get a speed drop, but I'm not super worried about it. So Levani comes in. I'm like, okay, we got to swap. So I bring in Thundurus in his Therian form. They had gone for Leaf Blade. That was a crit, so I actually considered all things. I took that pretty well. Hidden Power, I don't know which one it was. Fire, Ice, I think. That's going to take down Levani. Excadrill comes in. And I go for Focus Miss. And of course I miss because it's Focus Miss. That kind of sucks. So Rock Slide's obviously going to take Thundurus out. Focus Miss, probably Excadrill might have survived that, to be honest. But, who could have known? So Hydreigon comes in. I went for Fire Blast. That's obviously going to take him right down. Even with the ground typing, there was no way. And then they rage quit. So I never got to find out what their last Pokemon is. That really sucks. So this next battle is against CJR62. Sylveon is their lead. Sylveon's just awesome. I have a Ludicolo lead, and if he ever shows up, sometimes the sprites take a little while to really load. So I don't really have anything for Sylveon here, so I decided to just try Scald, see if I can get a burn. And I get the burn on the second Scald, so that's really good. Although Sylveon's usually special, it's at least a little extra damage. Hyper Voice, I know I can't take another one, but at least I'm outspeeding them, so I'm like, alright, let's swap into Weavile, because I have a feeling they're going to do Hyper Voice again. But then I forgot, wait a minute, for some reason I was thinking of Hyper Voice as a normal type attack. It's not, you guys, it's Fairy type, so I just wasted my Weavile, so even I make dumbass moves sometimes. So I bring Ludicolo in to get the Scald off again. I'm like, alright, might as well let him go down too and just get a little extra damage. I feel really stupid now. The Sylveon is really putting in work. It's taken down 2 of my Pokemon, and it's not even dead. So I bring in Garbodor. They went for Protect. I don't know. I guess they were scouting me out, but that's fine because I went for Toxic Spikes. So, that's fine. This is a setup Garbodor. That's really all he's there for, so I go for another round of Toxic Spikes. They go for Hyper Voice. I'm obviously going to resist that. It's interesting because obviously even one Poison-type attack is going to absolutely kill the Sylveon, but for some reason they decided to Protect there, but that's fine because I decided to set up first. Drain Punch is going to kill it. I didn't even go, because I figured they would swap after that, but they didn't. So Fortress comes in, obviously doesn't get poisoned because it's Steel type. I go for Drain Punch. It's not much of anything. That being half Bug type really blows there. And then they make their boneheaded move. They went for Toxic against Garbodor. I'm like, oh my god, first I'm making stupid mistakes, now you are. So, I'm just continually Drain Punching. It's like no damage, but it's really the only thing I can do here. They put up Stealth Rocks. I really don't want to swap, especially now that they're Stealth Rocks. And I'm getting the feeling that they really can't hurt Garbodor. Gyro Ball does a little bit better, but it's not a lot. So continue, the fact that I'm getting health back from Black Sludge and from Drain Punch is really helping me out here. So hey, so I went. They went for Rapid Spin. That's going to get rid of all my setup moves. That kind of sucks. And Vanillix comes in. So I had gone for Drain Punch again. That obviously is going to do a lot better to Vanillix than it would to Fortress. But it's still not a lot of damage, to be honest with you guys. And now I'm at full health. So they get the Blizzard off. Blizzard, unfortunately, can't miss in the hail, so I decided to just go for the Gunk Shot, and I don't take him out. I don't even get the Poison, so that he would go down, at the end of the round. So obviously Blizzard's going to hit. They went down to their Life Orb, but I'm down 3, and they're only down 2. And I have Stealth Rocks on my side, so I'm just like, oh no, this sucks. So Fortress comes back out. I decide to swap in Turtonator, thinking, well, maybe I can get like a Shell Smash or something. They immediately Toxic me. So actually, I went for Dragon Tail. I want this thing gone. So, and I also want to see what the rest of their team is. So they have Sawsbuck. Sawsbuck is of course part Grass type. So I'm thinking, oh crap! I mean, this is good. But my only attacking move is Shell Smash. So they went for Return there. I went for Draco Meteor because I just figured that might work. It does okay. So I'm not doing too good in this. So I set the Shell Trap up finally. I probably should have done it ages ago. And they swap. Can you believe it? So there's Fortress. Fortress is of course double weak to fire or something. And well, you know what? Let's try it. Let's see. They got to attack. I mean, I know what this guy's set is. He has no choice but to attack. I've seen all 4 of his moves. They went for Rapid Spin. It's not enough damage. Why would you do that? Shell Trap bodies the Fortress. I'm like, yay! Turtonator finally did something. He goes down to Toxic, but he finally got rid of that stupid, annoying Fortress. That was the only answer I had for it. So I have Vikavolt. They bring the Sawsbuck back in. I'm like, okay. They went for Horn Leech. I'm thinking, that's interesting that they decided to stay in with the Vikavolt. Don't they know what type it is? So I have, I believe it's Hidden Power. I think that was Hidden Power Bug. I don't know. It takes him out. So Gengar comes in. He's going to Mega Evolve into Mega Gengar. The sprite's not loading. I don't know what that's about. He gets me with the Sludge Wave, so it's down to my last Pokemon. It's Rayquaza. So I'm like, Rayquaza is kind of an interesting Pokemon. He's like, why is the sprite not showing up? Because he's either going to do great or he's not going to do great. They set up the Destiny Bond. Oh, there's Mega Gengar. and it lives. I went for extreme speed just so that the Destiny Bond wouldn't work. I knew it wasn't going to affect Mega Gengar, but I just wanted the Destiny Bond to not work. They hit me with a Sludge Wave. I'm like, I can actually kill this thing. I lock myself into Outrage, and I'm like, if their last Pokemon is anything but a fairy type, I'm good. And it's Mimikyu. Mimikyu is fairy type, so I'm locked into Outrage. I can't do anything. He takes me out with the Play Rough, so that was a rough battle, but at least I got him down to one Pokemon. It was unfortunately, Mimikyu is absolutely fantastic. I couldn't do anything there. So this next battle is versus Chaz Daz Paz. Why is it? Well, I guess you guys... Oh, I never hit reset. You guys know I win this one, but let's actually show it. So they have a Gothitelle lead. I have Beedrill. Obviously, this is a Mega Beedrill. There's no sense in running anything other than a Mega Beedrill. So I immediately Mega Evolve. I thought they would swap, and I'm like, I can get X-Scissor on something. They didn't swap. Obviously, X-Scissor is going to completely body the Gothitelle. Dodrio comes in. I go for a knockoff. It's going to get rid of their Life Orb, so I'm probably going to survive whatever they're going to do. It's Brave Bird. Unfortunately, I can't survive that, but at least they took, all the damage there from the knockoff and from the recoil damage. I bring in Frostlass, they swap over to Wishy Washy. I'm like, oh wow, this actually plays right into my hands because, well, you'll see. So I had gone for Ice Beam. Obviously, Wishy Washy's going to take that better. So I'm like, all right, let's start spinning up spikes because I doubt this Wishy Washy can do much. But then Scald does so much damage. I'm like, oh crap, that's a lot of damage. So I decided to go for Destiny Bond, you guys, because I know they're going to go. Like Scald did too well for them not to go it again. I finally got a Destiny Bond killed off. So I'm going to go down. Wishy Washy's going to go down. So that's really cool. And I got one spike out there. So I sent in my Cloyster. You guys know how this ends because I had fucked up. So they bring in Minior. I go for Shell Smash with a White Herb. Guess what they're going to go for? They're going to go for Shell Smash with the White Orb as well. We both had Shell Smash Pokemon with White Herbs. So we both doubled our speed, attack, and special attack, but Cloyster's base speed is a lot higher. I go for the Hydro Pump, and thankfully it hits. Minior goes down like nothing. And from here on in, it's pretty much a Cloyster sweep. Victory Bell comes in. I'm thinking maybe they're stupid. I went for Icicle Spear. Obviously, they're not going to be able to stand up to that. I mean, Cloyster is an ice type, so I don't know why they did that. And then they have Umbreon, and I'm like, okay, Umbreon's really bulky. I figure he's going to go for Toxic. So I decided to Icicle Sphere, because Icicle Sphere, my ability is Skill Link. I know it's going to hit 5 times. It does a lot of damage. They, of course, went for Toxic. But I'm like, okay, it's not going to survive anything I can do, and Icicle Spear can easily take care of Dodrio. They went for Protector, obviously hoping to rack up the Toxic a little, but I have too much health. There is no way they're going to be able to do anything here. So at this point, it's pretty much an exercise in futility. The second Icicle Spear is going to take Umbreon down, and then Dodrio, of course, is weak to Ice. And normally, I think it might be able to outspeed a Cloyster, but with that double speed, yeah, there's no sense in that. And even then, what is he going to do to me? Brave Bird? I mean, it's not going to do it. So that's game. So this next one is versus Meganalga? I don't know what it is. So I have a Rapidash lead here. And they have Simisage F form. And they decide to immediately swap out to Tapu Fini, which was probably smart because, I'm a fire type, but I figured they would swap, so I went for high horsepower. Unfortunately, Tapu Fini takes that really well, but it was a good gamble on my part. So I went for Will-O-Wisp because I'm stupid and I forgot the Protective Mist is going to prevent that. They go behind their substitutes. I'm like, crap, I had a chance to do some damage. Rapidash is really fast. So I'm just going to start Flare Blitzing. They go for Hydro Pump. Of course it hits, but I actually survived it because Rapidash is just a great Pokemon. So I'm like, okay, here goes Flare Blitz again. I know I'm not going to do a lot of damage here, but whatever. I would rather let him go down and get a clean swap than to try to awkwardly swap, and he has hardly any health left. So I bring in Bruxis. Bruxis is really great. I went for Psychic Fangs. That's just going to critical, take him out, bop boop beep, he's done. So, in comes Simisage F again. I'm thinking, well, here comes a Grass-type move, so I swap over to Oricorio Pom-Pom form. They actually probably predicted the swap because they went for Nasty Plot, so they got a free Nasty Plot. They went for Focus Mist. Oricorio, I mean, it is flying type, so it takes that pretty well. I went for U-Turn. It does pretty great damage, and then obviously I'm going to swap into Heracross. So this is, why isn't they, okay, it's not showing up. So it's a Mega Heracross because of course it is. They went for Hidden Power. I'm not sure what Hidden Power that is because it wasn't super effective or not very effective. Pin Missile. I mean, even if it had full health, there's no way. This is a Skill Link Mega Heracross. Deden comes in. I'm like, okay, let's see. Thunderbolt is what I figured what would happen, or Nuzzle. Actually, they probably should have went for Nuzzle. I went for Pin Missile. It's not very effective, but I figured, hey, it's going to be some damage for the 5 hits. Take off more than half of its health, so that's pretty great. So I swap over to Reuniclus, because I know there's another Thunderbolt coming, and I want to save the Mega Heracross. They swap over to Bisharp, so I'm like, okay, that's really interesting. Now they're actually swapping into a Psychic. I guess they figured that I would do that because it is a Psychic type. I swap over to Mega Heracross. So I'm thinking, okay, they went behind the substitute. I'm like, God, I was skilling with multi-hit moves. What are you doing with the substitute? Not a good idea. So I went for Pin Missile. It actually fades pretty quickly, and then I get a critical, and it hits 5 times. So they went for Brick Break. That's not going to be effective at all. I mean, it is Bug type. So, So now they send their Deden back in, and I'm thinking, okay, well, I can outspeed it now, and it's not going to be able to do anything, so I go for the Pin Missile again. And then it's got a fucking Batea Berry with the Cheek Pouch ability, so I'm like, oh god, this actually really sucks, because it's going to survive, and now it's going to hit me with something. So I swap over to Reuniclus again. We're just doing the swap a lot, and because I really don't want Mega Heracross to go down just yet. So Reuniclus gets outsped and goes down to the Thunderbolt, but like I said, I just wanted a clean swap, so I bring in Bruxish. So Bruxish, I have the Aqua Jet on as a... I knew they wouldn't swap because I'm thinking, oh, Water type, easy, they're not going to swap. Aqua Jet's going to take him out. So Bisharp comes in, he's exerting his pressure, I'm not too worried about it. I thought, he's low health, I might be able to kill it with Aqua Jet. Unfortunately not. Knockoff is going to absolutely annihilate him. As you can see, I was choice banded anyway, so it's not like I had a choice with that Aqua Jet. So I bring Mega Heracross back in, and this time I went for Rock Blast. I know he resists it, but he doesn't exactly have a lot of health, and I didn't trust Pin Missile. So then they have Shuckle. Shuckle is not super useful. I go for Close Combat because it is super effective. It does less than half health. Let's see what he has. He has Infestation. I ain't worried about that. Shuckle is useless offensively, but has really high defense and really high special defense. So I went for another Close Combat. And I'm like, okay, let's see if I can survive the next hit. Unfortunately, I don't survive the knockoff, but I got Shuckle down to less than 20% health there with the leftover. So I bring in my Pom Pom Oricorio, and I go for Revelation Dance because I figured it's not going to do a lot, but it'll be enough to kill Shuckle, and thankfully he goes down. So their last Pokemon is Chansey, and I'm like, oh god, it's probably a Stally Toxic Chansey. Let me put Toxic on it because if it has Natural Cure, it can't swap out. I missed, and they get their Toxic off, but I'm like, okay, we'll just try again. I have an extra Pokemon. They go for Protect because, of course, they did. I went for Toxic again because I was just like, just in case they don't go for Protect. Maybe they'll go for Seismic Toss. I don't know. So I finally get the Toxic off, and I'm like, well, Oricorio is going to go down. They go for Wish. So I'm like, it's almost like as if the Oricorio doesn't count, but my last Pokemon is Barbaracle. So I'm like, let's just start hitting him. Cross Chop thankfully hits. Cross Chop does not have the best accuracy. There's no way Chansey's going to be able to do anything about Cross Chop, and that's game. So this next battle is versus Shark Bite GD. I have a Simisage lead, and they have Persian. So I'm like, oh, well, here comes Fake Out. And, of course, they do. And I'm like, wow, Fake Out did a lot of damage, though. Holy shit. That was like a third of my health. That's crazy. So they go for a knockoff. That's going to get rid of my Life Orb and another third of my health. So I went for Focus Miss, and of course it missed. But I'm thinking like, well, they're probably going to go for a knockoff again. It's going to do less damage, so I have another chance at Focus Miss. So I go for it again. That time it hits, and the Persian goes down. So, hey, Simisage, it killed the Persian. He's down on his last legs, but here comes Cofagrigus. Cofagrigus is really slow, so I decide I can actually do something about this. I get a little health back with Giga Drain, and they start setting up with Nasty Plot. So I'm like, okay, Giga Drain did really good. I'm getting health back. It actually does even better the second time around. Marginally better. They go for Haze. I'm like, what are you doing? What are you doing? You just rose your special attack by 2 stages, and then decided you didn't want it anymore. Haze sets all stats to 0, so the second Giga Drain is going to take him down. How stupid is this person? So Muck comes in. I went for Focus Miss. It missed, because of course it did. They go for Ice Punch. There's no way Simisage is going to be able to take that. But he took down 2 Pokemon, one of which I thought was absolutely sure to body him, the Cofagrigus. So I bring in Landorus. They swap over to Honchkrow. So I'm like, oh, okay, that's fine. Because I had gone for Psychic, so I guess they figured I would go for a Psychic-type move. They're going to get me with Sucker Punch. That's going to take off a lot of health, but Sludge Wave does a lot of health to Honchkrow. So I figured they're going to go for Sucker Punch again, but, whatever, I'll probably survive it. But they didn't go for it, so I was able to get the Honchkrow down easily. So Muck comes in. Muck gets a critical with Shadow Sneak. It's not a lot of damage, though, so I'm not too worried about it. I get the Psychic off. Muck is pretty bulky in special defense, so he takes that pretty well. I'm like, okay, Shadow Sneak is not doing a lot. I get him with the Psychic. I probably couldn't take another Shadow Sneak, but, Landorus is doing great here. Skuntank comes out. So Skuntank goes for the Sucker Punch. This time it's enough to kill Landorus, but, I have 4 more Pokemon. They only have 2. I bring in Xerneas. So you're thinking, why would you bring in Xerneas? He's weak to poison, right? Well, because I figured, let's see what they do. I can probably survive it, and I'm going to get off a Geomancy. So I have Geomancy with the Power Herb, which is going to double my special attack, special defense, and speed. And then I go for close combat. It was really my only option there, but they went for another Poison Jab. That's going to take me down. So, and Xerneas wasn't going to be able to really do anything there, but he got off a little bit of damage there. He had a good showing. I'm just pretty much being a show-off at this point. So I bring in Rotom. They went for Sucker Punch, but I didn't attack. I went for Will-O-Wisp. So, there you go. So that's going to burn him, obviously, and now his physical attack is half. So he went for Sucker Punch again. It actually still does a shitload of damage, and I'm starting to think, he's not doing anything but Sucker Punch. What is going on with this? I know he's not choiced, because he's occasionally doing Poison Jab. It's kind of weird. So I take him out with 2 Thunderbolts pretty easily there, and their last Pokemon is going to come out, and that is... It's Tyrantrum. So I'm like, oh, shit, okay, but I could probably handle this. I have Hidden Power Ice. Hidden Power Ice does less than half, but they went for Dragon Dance, so I'm like, okay, that's another free Hidden Power Ice, because I am outspeeding it. They'll probably take down Rotom, but then they went into Outrage. Outrage, goes first because their speed went up, so I'm like, oh crap, I thought I'd still outspeed them. So I bring in Tapu Bulu, because Outrage is obviously not going to affect it. It is Fairy type. So they get their Lumberry. That's going to end Confusion. I went for Wood Hammer, and that's more than enough to take down the Tyrantrum. And that's game. Can you guys tell that my voice is getting tired? This is the last one. So this is versus Gem Snake. Gem Snake has a Floatzel lead. And I have Entei. And, oh god, terrible matchup, right? I'm easily going to swap over. I don't really have anything good to swap into. So I decide Electros, might force them to swap. Man, he takes that Liquidation so badly and my defense goes down. And I'm like, crap, that really sucks. But I get off the Volt Switch. He lives it, which kind of sucks. And I'm like, okay, let's just swap into my own Floatzel, and then I can Aqua Jet them. They actually also went for Aqua Jet, and they beat me in the speed tie before I can even do my Aqua Jet. They're going to go down to their Life Orb. So, all right, fair enough. It's not like I lost a lot of health there. And they also have Electros. What are the chances? We both have Floatzel, and we both have Electros. So I went for Liquid. My Liquidation does a lot less damage to their Electros than theirs did to mine. So that just sucks, and I go down to Thunderbolt. So I bring in Cryogonal. And I go for Freeze Dry. I thought they might swap here, but they decide to stay in. They are going to swap, but they're going to swap via U-turn. So then they bring in Beware, and this thing can be really scary. I mean, you saw how well I did with Beware earlier. So I bring in Shaman in his Sky form. And I figured there's a Fighting-type move coming, because Beware almost always has a Fighting-type move, and I'm an Ice-type. So Shaman's going to take that really well, and they're going to get a Speed Drop. So I went for Seed Flare here, just because it was my best option. And then they have Ice Punch, so I'm like, oh, shit. But I'm like thinking, damn, I really don't have a really good answer to Beware. I decided to bring in Entei. I went for Sacred Fire, and that's going to take him down. So I'm like, okay, at least there's that. So they bring in Mimikyu, and I'm like, oh, damn it. So I go for Sacred Fire just to break the disguise, and just let's see what he's going to do. He's obviously going to do Shadow Sneak, right? Not Shadow Sneak. I thought he was going to do Swords Dance, but then they went for Play Rough. I'm like, why aren't you doing Swords Dance? That's interesting. So I go for another Sacred Fire. I get the burn, so obviously he's done. There's no way he's going to be able to survive that. He finally goes for Swords Dance, but like I said, he's going to go down to the burn there. So that Entei did pretty well against that Mimikyu. That worked out really well. And then they Rage Quit. So that is going to be game. I'll try not to do these so late at night so that I'm all tired and rambling and shit. But I'll see you guys real soon with more great content.